back around spring of 2009, I had a meeting with Kristen Baldwin and Nick Torelli, actually a couple of meetings, in which we talked about the future of systems engineering and what was missing in it. Kristen and Nick were two of the leaders of systems engineering for the Department of Defense. I was the number 2 in the Systems Engineering Research Center, which was being run by Dinesh Verma at Stevens Institute of Technology. And what we realized was that a systems engineering body of knowledge, which would be analogous to what the IEEE had come up with for software engineering, but this would be for systems engineering, would allow us to really provide a structure, references, a way to explore systems engineering in a way that would be generally available to the community. And they liked the idea. It also would provide a way for universities to have better insight into what could be taught, or should be taught, about systems engineering, especially at the master's level. The idea of doing a systems engineering body of knowledge really was my idea in conversations with several people, Kristen Baldwin, Nick Torelli, Dinesh Verma, and a couple of others, because I was familiar with the software engineering body of knowledge, really wanted to have something analogous for systems engineering, thought it was a major hole, and so I actually wanted to lead the project. I thought it was a really cool project and suggested myself to run it. And Kristen, Dinesh, Nick all thought that was a good idea. And so that's where we ended up. When we started the SEBoK, the goal was to create the most popular widespread reference for systems engineering in the world. That's rather ambitious, I realize, but we thought that there was nothing analogous to what we're trying to create, and we thought if we did it well, it was something that we could actually position that way as a free asset available on the internet that could be updated in a regular way and would be free, referenceable by everybody, and would also be of value to the community that was creating and updating curricula for systems engineering programs at universities around the world, especially in master's programs. The original format that we anticipated for the SEBoK was a PDF. Kind of that's the traditional way in which bodies of knowledge were being published at that time. This was around 2009. Nicole Hutchison, who was one of the key people in the core team that was building the SEBoK, suggested the wiki as a way of making it much more flexible. So you had better navigation, easier to update, easier to access. Just seemed like a lot more work, quite frankly, but we were hoping that the product itself would be much better, much stronger, because PDFs work well if you're going to update them every few years, but we had talked about trying to have them be updated, the SEBoK, Systems Engineering Body of Knowledge, be updated on a regular basis. And so we wanted an IT platform that would allow that to be easily done, and especially with Wikipedia being so popular and new articles being regularly added and updated, etc., it seemed like that was a great platform. One of the most memorable, actually the most memorable aspect of working on this project is the team that came with it. It really was, in many ways, the most enjoyable project of my professional career, and key among that, without any doubt, was the team that was assembled in order to pull this off. And so we had Dave Olwell from the Naval Postgraduate School, who was my co-lead, Nicole Hutchison, David Henry, Stephanie Ank, Alice Squires, and Jim Anthony were what we called the core team. We had 70 volunteer authors, we had several hundred reviewers, and it was the fact that we had these amazing workshops too. So you had all these assignments that people were doing in between events that we had, but every 3 months we had a workshop, and it was usually a 2 or 3 day event, and we needed these people to be motivated and to work hard and so on. And so we came up with the idea of holding these workshops in unusual places. Well, I shouldn't say unusual, but just cool places. So we had one in Toulouse, France, we had one in London, we had one in Rome, Italy, Monterey, California, just very nice places that would attract people. And by doing that, we were able to not only do the work, but we had these sightseeing events that build up a lot of camaraderie. And that was a way of making sure that the team was excited about what they were doing. Well, one of the milestones that I'm most proud of is the fact that we now have had more than 6 million page views. So people have come to the SEBoK and viewed articles 6 million plus times. And we're now at the point where it's over 1 million times a year. So it's been gradually growing throughout the lifetime of the SEBoK. And that is just amazing. So I guess that's probably the most important milestone, is that people were finding it useful enough to keep coming back. Couldn't come any better than that. The other milestone that I think was really central to our success was the shift from being a Department of Defense funded research project, which ran through 2013, all the way to today. We are now essentially self-governed. So we've got a shift from being funded by the government and sort of overseen by the government to instead having INCOSE, the IEEE Computer Society, and now the IEEE Systems Council, and Stevens Institute/CERC as being the people who oversee the evolution of the SEBoK. And the fact that it's now self-supporting, self-governing, and so on is a tremendous milestone, because one of the fears we had when we completed version 1.0 of the SEBoK was, how are we going to carry this forward? And we came up with a model that has been very, very successful. When I look out 5-10 years, what I'm really hoping the SEBoK is expanded its audience dramatically. We think of systems thinking, systems engineering as a discipline that all engineers, and even more broadly project managers and many others, should really have a basic understanding of. What I'd really like to see the SEBoK is a resource, the resource for people everywhere in the world who are engineers or managers, who can come to understand basic material about systems engineering and how it affects their jobs, because engineers everywhere have to deal with being part of teams that are building large complex systems of systems, and so on. So that to me is, 5 to 10 years from now, I'm really hoping we've been able to expand the audience that way. And if we are successful in doing that, instead of 1 million page views a year, as we currently have, what I'm hoping is it's more like 1 million page views a month, or even faster than that, so that we can have a very broad impact on the community worldwide.